There is something I have been thinking about deeply. And the more I think about it, the more I realize how dangerous comparison can become when we are comparing our real lives to somebody else's presentation. Let me tell you a little story. There was a man many people believed was the perfect husband. And honestly, he gave us reasons to believe it. He told us how much money he gave his wife. We heard about the millions. We saw the designer bags. We saw the luxurious holidays around the world. We saw the private jets, the mansions, the beautiful cars, the lifestyle. We saw a woman who appeared to have everything. And we saw a husband who appeared determined to give his wife the world. He didn't just live this life privately. He showed us. He talked about what he did for his wife. He presented an image of generosity, provision, love, and devotion. And many people watched. Many women watched. I know women who watched that marriage and quietly compared it to their own. Some wondered, why doesn't my husband do this for me? Why doesn't my husband give me this kind of money? Why aren't we traveling like this? Why doesn't my husband buy me designer bags? Why can't my marriage look like theirs? And I understand why. Because what we were being shown looked like perfection. Perfect husband, perfect wife, perfect marriage, perfect home, perfect holidays, perfect lifestyle, perfection everywhere. And perhaps without even realizing it, some women started feeling that what they had wasn't enough. Their husbands weren't enough. Their marriages weren't enough. Their lives weren't enough. But then we began hearing allegations of a completely different reality behind closed doors. The woman who appeared to have everything was reportedly experiencing physical, emotional, and mental abuse. And suddenly the picture looked very different. The designer bags were still real. The money may have been real. The private jets were real. The mansions were real. The holidays were real. The luxury was real. But apparently, so was the pain. And that is what I want us to talk about today. Because two things can be true at the same time. A man can provide financially and still be emotionally destructive. A person can be generous and still be controlling. Someone can buy beautiful gifts and still create an unsafe environment. A marriage can look extraordinary from the outside and be deeply painful on the inside. And I want to be very clear about something. There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting beautiful things. There's nothing wrong with wanting a generous husband. There is nothing wrong with wanting financial security. There is nothing wrong with wanting beautiful holidays. There's nothing wrong with designer bags. There is nothing wrong with flying first class or private if you can afford it. There is nothing wrong with living in a beautiful home. I love beautiful things myself. So this is not a message against wealth, luxury, or provision. The lesson is that material provision is not proof of emotional safety. A designer bag is beautiful. A private jet is luxurious. But none of them can compensate for fear, humiliation, violence, or emotional abuse. Provision matters, generosity matters, but provision without respect, safety, and kindness is not the picture of a healthy relationship. And that is where I think many of us have to become more self-aware. Because when you are not grounded in yourself, social media can make you dissatisfied with a perfectly good life. You can be sitting beside a kind man and become angry because somebody else's husband bought her a Birkin. You can have peace in your home and suddenly feel poor because another woman is flying private. You can have a husband who respects you, listens to you, and makes you feel safe, yet begin questioning his value because somebody else's husband appears to spend more money. And before you know it, you're comparing your entire marriage to somebody else's Instagram post. You don't know what happens after the birthday celebration. You don't know what happens when the private jet lands. You don't know what happens after the designer bag has been unwrapped. You don't know what happens when they return from that beautiful holiday. You don't know what happens when the cameras are switched off. You don't know what happens when the guests leave and the doors close. You simply don't know. And that is why I have stopped envying people's lives. I can admire you. I can celebrate you. I can be inspired by you. I can even desire something I see in your life. But I don't have to envy you because I don't know the full story. And neither do you know mine. Social media is a presentation. Social media is not necessarily fake. I don't even like saying that everything on social media is fake because sometimes what you're seeing is genuinely happening. The holiday happened, the gift was bought, the cars exist, the houses exist, the couple genuinely smiled when that photograph was taken. But social media is incomplete. It gives you moments. It does not necessarily give you context. It gives you photographs. It doesn't necessarily give you conversations. It gives you celebrations. It doesn't necessarily show you conflicts. It shows you what somebody has chosen to allow you to see. And that distinction is important. What you see may be real, but it may not be the whole reality. That is why comparison is so dangerous. You're taking a fragment of somebody else's life and comparing it to the reality of yours. How can that ever be a fair comparison? There's another part of the story that made me think. I sometimes wonder whether the man we were seeing publicly was perhaps the man he genuinely wanted to be. Maybe he wanted to be generous. Maybe he wanted to be a provider. Maybe he wanted to show men how to celebrate their wives. And in fairness, some of what he showed may have encouraged other men to become more intentional about how they treated their wives. Perhaps some men watched and thought, I should celebrate my wife more. I should be generous. I should create beautiful experiences for my family. Those are good things, but here is the tragedy. You can teach something publicly that you haven't mastered privately. You can know what love should look like and still not know how to love well. You can understand generosity and still struggle with emotional regulation. You can know how to provide materially and still fail to provide emotional safety. Perhaps there were unresolved wounds in his life. Perhaps there were things from his past that shaped the way he understood love, anger, power, or control. Whatever wounds you carry may help explain your behavior, but they never excuse hurting another human being. Your healing is your responsibility. Because if you refuse to heal from what hurt you, there's a danger that eventually somebody else will bleed from wounds they did not create. And that is self-awareness. Self-awareness is being courageous enough to ask, what am I carrying? What patterns am I repeating? What happens to me when I am angry? How do I treat the people closest to me? Am I the same person privately that I pretend to be publicly? Because refinement isn't simply how beautifully you behave when people are watching. We need to reconsider some of the things we use to measure relationships. A good husband isn't simply a man who spends money. And a good marriage isn't simply one that looks luxurious. Ask different questions. Do you feel safe? Are you respected? Can you express your opinion without fear? Can you disagree? Can you say no? Can you make a mistake? Can you have difficult conversations without being humiliated? Can you be yourself? Do you feel emotionally secure? Can you sleep peacefully beside the person who says they love you? Those things don't photograph as beautifully as a private jet. You can't necessarily put emotional safety on Instagram. Respect doesn't come in a designer box. Peace doesn't have a luxury logo. But those things matter greatly. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying choose peace and accept poverty. I'm not saying women should stop desiring financial security. I am saying desire both. Desire generosity and kindness. Desire provision and respect. Desire beautiful experiences and emotional safety. Desire abundance and peace. You do not have to choose between being treated well materially and being treated well emotionally. A healthy relationship should not require you to trade one for the other. So, what is the lesson for the woman watching? Water your own grass. But let me qualify that. I don't mean tolerate abuse. I don't mean remain in danger. I don't mean accept disrespect in the name of contentment. When a relationship is healthy and capable of growth, nurture what you have. Communicate, grow together, build together, appreciate what is working, work intentionally on what is not, and stop constantly looking over the fence. Because comparison can make you destroy something good while chasing something that only looks good. Sometimes the woman you envy may envy you. You may envy her handbag, she may envy your peace. You may envy her holidays, she may envy the way your husband speaks gently to you. You may envy her mansion, she may envy the fact that you can sleep peacefully in your house. You may envy what she has, she may be praying for what you have. So be careful. This is where self-awareness becomes so important. A high-value woman can admire another woman without competing with her. She can celebrate another woman's marriage without questioning her own. She can see another woman's lifestyle without allowing it to determine her worth. She knows what matters to her. She knows her values. She knows what she wants. She knows what she will not tolerate. And because she knows herself, every beautiful thing she says doesn't suddenly become something she needs. Now that is freedom. The freedom to say, that's beautiful for her, but this is my life. I celebrate her, but I don't need to become her. I can desire more without despising what I already have. I can grow without competing. I can admire without envying. That is maturity. That is self-awareness. And that is one of the beliefs I have had to unlearn, that somebody else's relationship must be better than mine because of what I can see. No, I don't know enough to make that type of conclusion. Dear high-value woman, stop looking over the fence and assuming another woman's grass is greener. You don't know the entire story. You don't know what happens behind the beautiful photographs. You don't know what happens after the cameras go off. So don't compare, don't compete, don't envy. Desire beautiful things, desire generosity, desire abundance, desire financial security, but above all, desire peace, desire safety, desire respect, desire kindness, desire emotional security, desire a love that is as beautiful behind closed doors as it appears in public. Because the goal isn't to have a marriage that makes other women jealous. The goal is to have a relationship you don't have to recover from when the cameras go off. And remember, what you see may be real, but it may not be the whole reality. The world says the photograph. The people inside the house leave the relationship. So stop judging your life by somebody else's display. Water your own grass. Build your own life. Know your values. Protect your peace. And never, ever allow somebody else's presentation to make you feel that your reality isn't enough.